Welcome to another Apollo Papyrus episode. I am Aaron Apollo Camp. For this episode, my interview guest is a strong believer in self-education, hosts the Personal Development Mastery podcast, and is the author of the nonfiction book 88 Actionable Insights for Life. His name is Agi Keramidas, and here's my interview with Agi. Agi Keramidas, welcome to Apollo Papyrus.
Thank you very much for the invitation. I'm excited to be here.
Feel free to introduce yourself to our listeners.
Yes, sure. My name is Agi Keramidas. I am a dentist by profession. Actually, in my life, I have changed twice very much. The first one, when I moved from my home country, Greece, to England, where I have been living for the last 14 years. And the second was when I changed my career, and from a dentist with a master's degree, I pursued my passion in personal development and podcasting. So that is, in a nutshell, some of the, let's say, the highlights of who I am. I'm also the host of Personal Development Mastery podcast. And recently an author as well, which I'm sure we will discuss about that further down.
Without spoiling too much of your book, what is 88 Actionable Insights for Life about?
It is, in a way, I believe the title gives it away. It's quite descriptive. So it is tools or actions that the reader can implement into their daily life to aid them in their journey of personal development.
How long did it take you to write your book?
This is an interesting question, because the 90% of writing the book took me just over a month. And the remaining 10% of the book took me over a year. So in total, it was about a year and a half from the conception until the launch, shall we say.
What were the easiest and hardest parts of the book writing process for you?
The easiest, in a way, was when I started, when I had the idea about the book, which that idea just literally came to me. It appeared to me out of nowhere, or a download, some people say. So it was very easy to follow that idea, because it was so clear of what I wanted to do, that to take the action and write the things down that I needed to write was not an issue at all. I was like guided, or I was just doing the work. So that was easy, and that was probably, I refer to that period I said earlier about the initial 90%. Conversely, the difficult thing with the book was when I reached that point that I realized that, okay, now I'm close to ready. What am I going to do now? Am I going to complete it and publish it as it is? Should I polish it more? Should I send it to people? So then all those thoughts, the word perfectionism comes to mind, which I know that it is an excuse usually that we use to postpone doing things, but it, I teach about it, but it also hit me personally, this perfectionism, or this, is this good enough as it is? Shall I wait? And then that's why it took another year for me to finally decide, because it was more a matter of decision. There was not much work that needed to be done. It was the decision that what I have done is good enough as it is. I'm not going to get a Pulitzer Prize. That's not my intention with the book. My intention is to put it out there and hopefully inspire some people who read it to take some action and do something different in their lives and improve them. So I hope that answers your question, Aaron.
Is your book self-published, traditionally published, or published via hybrid press?
It is self-published, completely self-published.
Okay. Are you considering writing more books? And if so, what are some ideas for books that you have in mind?
It's a good question. Yes, absolutely. To your first question, I am considering more. I think, once you once you put a book out there, let's say the difficult thing of some things that you have to do for the very first time is gone. So now I have a very good, maybe it's not a very good, but certainly a much better understanding of how the whole process works, from writing it to publishing it. I know what things I can do differently. So definitely I'm going to write another book or books when the time is right. I'm not starting anytime soon, but as soon as I feel the calling, I am going to do that. And to answer your second question about what it would be about, I will give a little preface, because this book, my first book, 88 Actionable Insights for Life, has been taken to a very large extent from my podcast. So with my conversations with my guests in the podcast, I distilled this wisdom, I can say it like that, or these actionable insights, as the book title is. And I have presented them along with my own. So it has, let's say, tools or tactics for personal development, generally speaking. Other ideas that come to my mind do stem again from the podcast, because I carry on. At the moment, my podcast, Personal Development Mastery, has 375 episodes. So as you can imagine, there is a lot of knowledge in there awaiting for me to distill it and turn it into another book. I mean, an idea would be I'm laughing now, because I thought at some point, okay, maybe I can write a book called Another 88 Actionable Insights for Life. So I think I could find the material in my podcast to do another 88. If it's going to be like that, or I'm going to focus more on different topics, I'm not sure yet, but I probably will, because my main focus especially the last few months with the podcast, is more towards spiritual topics. So I think the answer to your question has to do I'm not sure what it's going to be yet, Aaron, but some kind of maybe spiritual development book, or it it hasn't it's not clear to me yet, but that's the original idea. And you are one of the very, very first people that I'm sharing this. It's probably the first time I'm sharing it in public. So there you go.
You are a strong believer in self-education, much like me. Why do you believe in self-education?
Because for many reasons. One of them is because I have gone through the channel of traditional education. So I went to university in Greece, my home country. I studied dentistry. Then when I moved to the United Kingdom, I did a master's degree in aesthetic dentistry. So I have seen what happens, or how I progress when I have done this, let's say, traditional education, and at the same time the limitations it has. The reason why I'm saying that is that with self-education, you don't have to focus your studies on whatever prescriptive curriculum the university has. So each of us are very individual. We have our strengths and our weaknesses. And when all of us study exactly the same thing, because that's what the program of the course is, then I think inevitably that limits us. Whereas if I or you or the person listening focus on your strengths in particular and study and evolve your strengths, then you can be really good at them rather than doing all sorts of different or general or even specialized knowledge. That doesn't mean that it is relevant. So I think the basic answer to your question is that because I believe self-education can be highly specialized to you, to your needs, to what it is that you would benefit from creating in your life or learning in your life. There are more reasons, but this is the first one that came to my mind now that you asked.
What is a knowledge broker, as that's a term you've used?
Yes, it is, and it's no a knowledge broker, Aaron. In very simple term, the way I interpret it is that, as you know, these times that we live in, there is an abundance of information. It's all out there on the internet. However, at the same time, there is a lack of wisdom of really doing something with this knowledge, because even if one wants to research a topic, something that they want to learn about or implement, they can spend a very long time researching about it, and that doesn't mean that what they will end up with was going to be relevant, or it could even be, as you know, there is misleading information or even plain false information there. So my role of knowledge broker, the way that I express it, is take clusters of this knowledge that is out there. In this particular case, in my particular case, it is personal development and what I have been studying and traveling the journey of mastery myself. Take these clusters of knowledge that I want to learn and convert them or distill them into wisdom or into insights. Comes back to the title of my book, The Actionable Insights. So I think that is for me how I see the knowledge broker, that I can take the knowledge that there is out there about a topic and present it to you, of course, in my own way. I'm not saying that this is the best or the only way, but it is my way of presenting this knowledge to you in a way that you can do something with it. It's not, information. Personal development is about transformation. So I hope that gives you a bit of a better understanding of how I mean a knowledge broker.
You host the Personal Development Mastery podcast. What can listeners expect from a typical episode of your podcast?
It's a great question, and I will bring it back to exactly the same thing that I said earlier. What one would expect to find there would be not just inspiration or some motivational talk that will make you say, yeah, that made me feel good, and then not do anything about it. What the listener expects to find, and that is all my effort with the podcast, is to provide the listener with the simple, consistent actions that one can take and implement into their life, and in order to create a life of fulfillment. It's all, if you think about it, it's all about breaking down if you break it down, I mean, it's all about the little actions that we take day by day, our habits, our routines. This is what constitutes our day and our life, and our success is determined by that. So this is the action items, the insights is what my listener would expect to find in the podcast. I'm always very big on giving that in each episode.
Having been an introvert, a shy introvert, how did you become confident in public speaking and podcasting?
I took the I think it's the only way out of that is through that. So the confidence came once I had the courage to do something about it. So I was very, as you said, I was very shy and reserved in my social encounters. Basically, I wouldn't speak to people that I didn't know. I was very reserved. But when I took the courage to change that, and I just said, okay, I'm going to go to a course about public speaking. And that took me very much out of my comfort zone. And because I remained out of the comfort zone, then I don't think there is any magic formula for getting over your fear, or you have to face the fear and do exactly what you are afraid of, and then you see that on the other side there is a completely different world. And that was for me, from not speaking to anyone to having a podcast and speaking on stage.
Agi, you were a wonderful guest. I thank you for appearing on Apollo Papyrus.
Aaron, it's been a real pleasure. Thank you for your questions and for the opportunity to share my message.
It was wonderful to interview a fellow believer in self-education, although I will add that I believe that self-education is never a replacement for formal schooling. This is Aaron Apollo Camp reminding y'all to write and read your passion. Bye for now. Remember to subscribe to the Apollo Papyrus YouTube channel at www.youtube.com/@Apollo Papyrus and the Apollo Papyrus Substack newsletter at apollopapyrus.substack.com. Y'all can visit the Apollo Papyrus website at campaaronapollo.witsite.com/Apollo Papyrus and follow Apollo Papyrus on Threads, Instagram, Facebook, and Tumblr at Apollo Papyrus. Copyright 2024, Aaron Apollo Camp, all rights reserved. This podcast episode is intended for the private listening of our audience. Any reuse or retransmission of this episode without the express written consent of the podcast host is prohibited, except under fair use guidelines. Royalty-free music and sound effects obtained from https://www.zapsplat.com.